Okay.
All right, so we are joined all the way from Dayton, Ohio for our final guest of the semester, Nurse Natasha Clements, founder, owner, operator, nursepreneur of Nurse Couture there in Ohio. We thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our entrepreneurship classes in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Option Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule for us today.
Well, I am glad that you guys wanted to have me. It's
All right.
an honor, it really is.
So before we get into all you're doing at Nurse Couture, because it's really interesting what you're doing, just give us a
Mhm,
little background because you have a very interesting backstory because
mhm.
you didn't have the easiest upbringing growing up
No. Mhm,
before you started doing this. Just give us a little history of
mhm.
how you got into this.
Okay. Well, I grew up here in Dayton, Ohio, majority of my life. Lived with my mom and we grew up poor, in poverty basically. Didn't really know I was poor until I met other kids at school. It went over their houses. But my mother had issues with mental illness. So that was kind of a struggle growing up, having to overcome a lot of things, being poor and having a parent with a mental illness. I did spend time in foster care while my mom was ill. I lived with family until I graduated high school. And honestly, when I graduated high school, I really had no clue what I wanted to be, for a career. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship at all. So this is really good at 10th grade. You guys are getting exposed to entrepreneurship because I never even thought of that as a 10th grader. But I had no idea. I was just kind of going through the motions. I went to a community college and I was changing my major every semester. Like literally had no clue what I wanted to do, was just kind of playing around, wasting time. And one day a cousin of mine, she says, well, such and such is an LPN. And she told me about it. She said, I'm going to go to LPN school. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to go too. So that is how I got into nursing. We also had a great aunt that was a nurse, so that kind of was another extra push. And so I had no idea what nursing really was. I went into school blindly, completed LPN school. I stuck with it, thank God. I was an LPN for 10 years. And that is anywhere from a year to a year and a half. It's not a degree, but it's kind of more like a certificate or a diploma program. And with that, I worked primarily in nursing home, assisted livings. Um, I did some restorative nurses. So basically, when people have injuries or disabilities, we help them um, regain their mobility. So they would take physical therapy and we would continue the course of treatment after they left physical therapy. So I help with that. So I did LPN for 10 years and I went on and got my RN. So as an RN, I worked in the hospital for a few years. I worked in orthopedics, which is broken bones. I work in cardiac. We prepare people for surgeries, pacemakers, which pacemaker, if you guys don't know what a pacemaker is, if you have difficulties with your heart, it's a machine they put in your heart that helps it make sure that it's beating. I did a lot. I floated to different units. Kind of got burnt out on that. And right before COVID started, I started travel nursing. So it was kind of a strange time to get into travel nursing. I traveled to about 5 or 6 different states. So I
Wow.
went to, I did a couple assignments in Columbus. I lived in Texas for 5 months during COVID, and I
Wow.
worked there helping with the COVID crisis. I worked on several of their units. I've traveled to California, Hawaii, um, trying to think where else. I went to Pennsylvania for one day. I didn't say I left, but nursing really brought a lot of opportunities for me, and it gave me a lot of experiences that I probably never would have been able to have. With that being said, nursing also is it's emotionally and physically is hard. So, I've always like I have um I kind of got curious about entrepreneurship basically. And so I knew I needed something different. And I wanted to, be my own boss. I wanted to have financial freedom. I mean, because even with being a nurse, everybody thinks nurses make all this money. But I was still basically living check to check. So I wanted something that I could kind of take more control of my future. I could, I use my creativity. I'm still learning with entrepreneurship constantly, but I had came across the ad and it was someone talking about owning a scrub business and they were offering mentorship. And so that is how I got into Nurse Couture.
Yeah, and that's so cool. But I do want to touch real briefly on nursing because
Hmm.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I have so many kids that say they want to be a nurse because they see the
Hmm.
Instagram posts with the scrubs and they think it's just all
Hmm.
this money. And it can be a well-paying career.
Yeah.
There's a few things I
Yeah.
think people need to realize before they get into nursing. First of all, you're gonna have to deal with bodily fluids. You're gonna have to touch people.
Hmm.
You're gonna have to smell people. You're gonna have to clean people's orifices, and
Yeah.
it can have some crazy hours. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of people don't understand that
Yes.
once they start getting into it. And the other thing
Absolutely.
is, even if people aren't interested in entrepreneurship, as far as nursing, there's always a need for male nurses, and
Mhm.
it's never been a better time for young men to consider nursing careers
Absolutely.
because every female nurse I meet says this
Hmm.
job would be so much easier if we just had one or two men on our floor. And instead, it's
Yes.
even simple things like if they're a few inches taller, they can reach things. If they're a little bit
Hmm.
stronger, they can move somebody.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if somebody's got an embarrassing medical thing, they only want to talk to men. So, men, I can,
Just need it.
yeah, so I really implore anybody interested in anything in the medical, young men really need to consider nursing because there are
Hmm.
a huge demand for them right now.
Huge, huge. And there's so many opportunities within nursing. There's so many specialties, and you can still own your own nursing related business as well. So you don't have to just do bedside nursing. There's also tech nursing.
Yeah.
There's lots of different, there's management. I have a friend that owns an IV hydration business. Botox, aesthetics, concierge nursing, which is where plastic surgery is a big thing now. So when you take care of people after they, at home, once they get their plastic surgery. So there's lots of entrepreneurship options within nursing as well.
Yeah, and the story goes, while you were doing all that stuff during COVID, you realized
Hmm.
that nurse apparel was very below standard. And if
Hmm.
anybody's going to be doing work, they need to be comfortable. And
Hmm.
and that's a
And
very known
stylish.
fact. Yeah, and that's a very known fact that scrubs are cheaply made. They fall apart.
Yeah.
People are always replacing
Hmm.
them. So that kind of gave you the light bulb and say, look, I've got an idea here and I
Hmm.
think I can make a profit off of it. So tell us how Nurse Couture was born because I know you recently had your fashion show where you rolled out a long list of a long line of styles for all body types and all
Hmm.
genders. So
Hmm.
just tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about what all you do and what all you got going on.
So Nurse Couture, it is unlike any other scrub business, and the reason why is because Nurse Couture, we have a community. It's just not about, offering scrubs to people. So with our community, we provide education, we provide support. Um, we make sure nurses are doing self-care because it is such a high stressful job. Our community has about 17.5 thousand members right now.
Wow.
So Nurse Couture Society, out of that grew Nurse Couture. So I offer lots of things to my nurses. Nurse Couture is really it's just a celebration and a support to nurses. So that the Nurse Couture Society, that's one aspect of Nurse Couture. The other two aspects are the scrubs. which they are, like you said, a lot of scrubs are the typical scrubs are boxy. They're not cute. They're, not really that comfortable. With Nurse Couture, you don't have to sacrifice comfort or being cute. Everybody wants to look nice when they go to work. And they're functional. So we have lots of pockets, we have pin pockets, we have badge holders, um, we have the latest styles, and they still, are functional and help you get through your day. And then we have the off-duty collection. So you know, this is very few places that offer apparel for nurses outside of work. Because lots of nurses are proud to be nurses and they should
Yeah,
be. And so, we have
absolutely.
t-shirts, we have hoodies, we have, let me see, here's my little cup. We have our
Yeah.
cups and bags, and let me see, I got a hat here. Hat, things, that you can wear when you're going to the grocery store, going to the gym, bracelets, things that just kind of celebrate nurses when they're off the clock.
Yeah, and like I said, in your fashion show you recently had last month, it really was
Mm-hmm.
cool because you had all different body types and you had
Mm-hmm.
all different heights and you had even
Mm-hmm.
men that were wearing some of
Mm-hmm.
your clothing because it really does gear toward anybody that is in the
Yes.
medical field to
Yes.
feel comfortable. And I think that's a great point that I never would have thought of. It's
Mm-hmm.
already a stressful enough job. People want to look good and feel good, and it's amazing how much better that helps with their self-care, as you
Yeah.
say, in the health profession.
Mm-hmm. And it's nurse owned. So who better to know what a nurse needs besides a nurse?
Now, I know one thing that you advertise and you really pride yourself on is having quality uh, quality material
Mm-hmm.
in your product. And I think, and we talk about this in class a lot. If I always say, if people are willing to pay for something, you need to
Mm-hmm.
charge that because a big mistake a lot of young entrepreneurs make is they don't charge enough and they're just trying to be the best value. But if you can offer more, that gives you the ability to charge more. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how has the quality of your product allowed you to charge a little bit more than maybe your competitor?
Hmm. Well, I think with the uniqueness and the durability of the product, they appreciate the product, so they don't mind paying for something that they really enjoy and they know that's going to last them.
Yeah, and also you've done a great job advertising. We've looked at a little bit of marketing, and we're going to get more
Hmm.
into it next semester. But what are some marketing strategies that you've used? Because everybody knows how to use social media, but everybody
Hmm.
doesn't know how to use it right. So how
Hmm.
have you reached those target markets to make sure your brand is getting out there?
Well, actually, that's something I'm still working on. But with anything, the first thing you have to do is educate yourself, getting mentorship, reading books. Books are such an undervalued things because you can pay thousands and thousands of dollars for mentors when you can buy a book for 10, $20 and learn the same things. So with anything that you don't know how to do, you have to educate yourself and then get mentorship. But learning how to reach um the get my brand in front of the people that's interested, that's something I'm still working on. So I'm actually working with a marketing agency and I do have a mentor, and so I'm still in the process of learning those things myself. But I'm working, I'm getting there, I'm working on it. I'm going to keep working on it. But Facebook ads, learning how to do that, which is under Meta, so that's Facebook and Instagram. TikTok, I mean, I don't know if that's going to go down or not. You can run ads on TikTok. You have email campaigns, which is when you go to a business and then they send you email. That's a way to get to your market audience. Referrals, word of mouth, social media posting. Um, and also offering rewards and incentives. Those are ways to get to your target customers.
Big time. Now, one thing I always like to talk about, we have another guest in this class also. She's actually local, and she's a
Hmm.
doctor. She opened
Hmm.
a pediatric GI clinic. She was, a groundbreaking pediatric GI doctor. And she said, I
Hmm.
went to medical school. I learned how to take care of anybody's GI needs. Learned all about patient care, but I knew nothing about running a business. So
Hmm.
what type of learning curve have you had because
Mm.
look, you were a nurse for 20 years. You
Yeah,
obviously are a nurse, and we have people here that I have a lot of students here that may be gifted at something, but you can be a really good employee, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great business owner. So, what are some
yeah.
things that you learn kind of behind the scenes? Because everybody sees what you put out. What are some things
Hmm.
behind the you have to learn that is extremely important to success?
Um, Behind the scenes, a lot of things is trial and error, unfortunately. And unless you just start out. I mean, everybody can't afford to pay a mentor or go to business school. I utilize a lot of free webinars, like Google, YouTube, ebooks. You need to utilize all those free resources first, and then once you get in a better position, you can maybe get some mentorship or take some courses. But I definitely recommend doing all those things because even though there are mentors out there, there are people that will take advantage of you as well. So you have to choose your mentors wisely. Um, and with anything that you do, I mean, nothing better is practice. I mean, even if you're going to make a mistake, you're going to do something wrong, or but you learn from your mistakes, and your mistakes, help you grow. So I think it's a whole compilation of many things, but you just got to go for it.
Yeah,
And
and now, especially since
yeah,
COVID, there's never
yeah.
been a great rise of entrepreneurs that work with entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
So find
Hmm.
a small business that specializes in bookkeeping. Find you the small business that specializes in web design. That's
Yeah.
a way cheaper than having to hire somebody, and it also takes away the learning curve and stress that you have on yourself. So find
Hmm.
ways uh, to find these other businesses that
Yeah.
specialize in working with business. So I
Hmm.
think that is a huge advantage that has not always been
Yes.
there and really come up in the
Outsourcing.
last few years.
Yes, out be it if you get to a point where you can outsource, you definitely should because no great business does it alone either. You need a team to be successful because you're not good at every aspect of your business either. So you need to focus on what you're good at, what you enjoy. You need to outsource the other things that you're not.
All right, now before I get to their questions, there is something I really want to talk about too because and I know they get sick of me asking about this, but I just this is my soapbox. I have them present about entrepreneurs every month,
Mhm.
and it's all about getting them comfortable speaking,
Mhm.
selling, marketing. Because if you're going to be successful in business, you got to be able to talk to people, even small things, walking in a room and introducing yourself to people. But
Mhm.
I have people say all the time, "Well, I don't want to, I don't want to really talk to people all the time." You don't have to be a public speaker.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can speak in front of thousands of people and not be nervous. Everybody can't do that. That's fine. But if you're going
Mhm.
to be successful as an entrepreneur, you've got to be comfortable speaking articulately and speaking
Mhm.
clearly and being able to approach people and say, "Hey, here's my company, here's what I'm selling, and here's why you should buy from me." So,
Mhm.
how is that how does that play such a vital role in entrepreneurial success?
Well, people buy from you if a lot of times if they like you, if they can connect with you, and if they get to kind of feel like they get to know you and know your personality, being able to articulate yourself, it gains trust of the customer, and it shows confidence as well in the product. So, public speaking, I mean, it's not something I'm my best at. I'm learning, I'm growing. I'm still working on that myself, but definitely being able to talk to people that you don't know, being able to network. Networking is huge when you have a business because who is you don't know who is who, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know who can help you. And strangers
Absolutely.
will help you before people that know you will.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah, and it's always it's crazy because it's like I said, how Dante Lee has been such a great asset for me. I
Hmm.
have found so many. I've expanded my network just by seeing the people he's put out there. And
Hmm.
some people don't respond, but a lot of people like yourself respond and say, "Hey, I'd love to be a part of this," and the network builds. So it's just as
Hmm.
simple as asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I do have some questions from the students, and I actually have all young men in here with me today.
Okay.
So one of the reasons I wanted to mention about how men are needed in the nursing field, but I say
Hmm.
that anyway because it's true. But I like this first one. This is Derek Hutchins, one of our football players here. He said, "How do you prioritize and manage your time, especially in high pressure situations?"
Oh my God. That is a great question. How do you prioritize? You have to treat your life as a business. Like just how you have a schedule at school, that's what you're going to have to do with your life. What time are you waking up? um like literally Monday I'm doing this, Tuesday I'm doing this, Wednesday I'm doing this, and you also have to schedule your downtime because it can't always just be work work work, but you literally need to schedule your whole entire life when you're busy and when you're an entrepreneur. Literally from the morning to when you go to bed. When am I going to the gym? When am I going to practice? When am I ordering groceries? Like I literally have to schedule my whole entire life out.
Yeah, and I realized that later, but even there's apps now that can do it. You won't have to
Yeah,
do like our parents did, have to have everything written down. There are
yeah,
literally apps that manage your calendar for you, and it
it
is
is.
incredible how important that is, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you have your hand. I got a lot of irons in the fire too, so I know how it is, and
Yeah.
I
And
couldn't
it's
agree
still
more.
hard. It's still hard
Absolutely.
even following it and sticking to it. But I think now if you build those skills right now and start working on that when you become an adult, it'll be a lot easier.
I like this one. This is Christopher Mitchell. He's one of our basketball players. And he
Mm-hmm.
asked, having the childhood you had, did that help you and build you up to make you more confident to where you are now?
Having the childhood I had, as a child with the things I had to my struggles, they made me stronger, number one. They made me more resilient. And I feel like I had a lot more responsibility than a normal kid would at my age. So it made me a lot more mature. Um, so I think it helped me in the long run because I always remember I had a girlfriend. Um, and she had both of her parents in the home, and they were like middle class. They both had jobs, and they would buy her everything that she wanted and that she needed. And I would literally have to work for like everything. And now I look at where she is now, and I look at where it's like the tables have turned. It's like she didn't ever have to work for anything, so she didn't have a drive, which I had to work for everything. So I feel like it made me have an even stronger drive. So,
Yeah, it's amazing. And I share with them sometimes about some of the struggles I went through before I became a teacher, and it really
mhm,
does make you appreciate what you have so much more.
mhm,
It's so, especially when you're 16 years old, it's so easy to complain and quit, but it is amazing how all
mhm.
these years later you always say you're grateful for that struggle, and I agree 100% with what you just said.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this one. This is Jordan Jobe, another one of our football players, and he asked, "How did your life change from becoming an employee to starting your own business?"
Um, it's owning your own business is fun, it's rewarding, and but it's stressful because as an entrepreneur, you're putting out a lot of money and you might not see a profit initially. And you
Yeah.
have to be able to stick with it. You're gonna have setbacks. If you go to work you're going to get a check every week. As an entrepreneur, that's not always true. Um, it can be very stressful, and it's a lot of people out there that are looking to take advantage of people. So that's something I have encountered multiple times. Um, so I mean, you really, whatever you decide to do, you have to educate yourself. You can't take anybody's word for it. Even when you get a mentor, you still have to go the extra mile and check what they're saying, get referrals. It can be very, very hard, but when you're working for yourself is way more rewarding. Like you feel like, especially if it's something you feel like you're called to do, um, it makes me feel good that I'm completing one of my goals and not just working for somebody else, helping them.
Yeah.
Because either you're going to build somebody else's dream or you're going to build your own dream.
Wow. Great
Yeah.
quote. I like
Yeah.
this one. This is Edward Flowers. He's a member of our band, and he asked, throughout your entire life of your entrepreneurial journey, What has
Hmm.
been the most exciting and fulfilling part of it so far?
The most exciting is just actually seeing my idea come to life. And then seeing my when I had a brand launch, that's what you watch, the fashion show. Actually seeing that come to life, come to fruition, seeing the response from my friends, from my family, from nurses, when they buy my scrubs and they tell me how good they felt in them and how confident, or when people who are in my community, when I can help them get information about specialties or entrepreneurship or jobs. It's personally rewarding.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
I will send them after we get done. We'll watch the. I'll show them the video of that. I think that was really cool.
Hmm.
I got time for one more. This is Tadavian Smith, also a member of our band, and he asked, "What has been the biggest obstacle you have faced to get your business up and running?"
I think for most businesses, money. Money is a huge because it takes a lot of money to start a business. And then when you're starting a business, you don't know what you don't know. And so when you make mistakes, when you have a business, I mean, mistakes equal money. Um, so every mistake, that's time wasted and it's money wasted. Uh, so I think the biggest thing is money and the knowledge. Because if you set your business up wrong, um, it can fixing it can cost way more than doing it. That's why I really say get education, like, and use your free resources. Every city has entrepreneur centers, um, and they can help you, get through the beginning stage and lead you in the directions that you need to. So I would say those are two biggest things: funds and just having the knowledge.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that because that's crazy. I keep mentioning Dante Lee. He said the same thing, and I say this a
Hmm.
lot. And look, I like to see celebrities on social media too. There's a lot of athletes I like to follow, but if you can pour positive things into
Hmm.
your mind instead of just trying to do things that are fun, it is amazing how that's going to pay off for you in the long run.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. They had some
Now,
really great questions.
yeah. Coach
Yeah.
does it all. Now we're almost out of time, but a couple of things before we go, and we thank
Okay.
you so much for taking some time for us.
You're more than
But first
welcome.
of all, your website nursecouture.com and all of your social medias, all of your product lines on there.
Hmm. Yes. Hmm.
Okay, so it's not the Nurse Couture, it's just Nurse
No,
Couture.
it's shopnursecouture.com. Hmm.
ShopNurseCouture.com. Okay,
Hmm.
ShopNurseCouture.com is your website. All of your social media information is on there. All of your products, you know, you you're active all over all of them. So just encourage anybody to check that out and maybe become part of the Nurse Couture Society.
Yes. It's on Facebook. Yes. The
Awesome.
part.
Now the last thing before we go, and I've asked this question so many times, but I love hearing this answer. Like I said, I have all young men in here with me today, all 16-year-old young black men. And
Hmm.
why is it so important for us to get more black male leaders in our community?
Oh my God. It's so needed. I mean, men are by nature the leaders of our community. Um, the black people as a whole, the spending power is in the trillions, but we don't own the percentage of what we own is is such a low percentage. And um ownership and investing will really change your life. It's the difference between being rich and poor. The richest people are the people who own things and the people who learn how to invest. And there's tons of different things you can invest in. But with our spending power as blacks, we have so much power that we don't tap into. And it really starts with ownership.
Wow. Great stuff. Well, again, we thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And this was a great way to end our semester. We hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. And again, we thank you so much, the owner of Nurse Couture, Natasha Clements, all the way from Dayton, Ohio. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you
today.
guys. Great questions.
I talk to you
Bye.
soon, buddy.
Okay.